And I actually share Senator Blumenthal's, I think that'd be a good thing to do. And it seems to be the topic du jour, which is UAS and counter UAS, and probably for good reason, although, we've been briefed on these topics before. Seeing what everybody saw with with Ukraine and with Russia, I think sort of highlights the need for us to be speedy with this. We can talk more about it in a classified setting, but certainly it's been something that is on the radar. I want to commend the Army for, I think, being ahead of this, and quite frankly, versus the Air Force. I think the Air Force is, from everything I've gathered, is really clumsy about how they're protecting our assets with counter UAS, and it's just it's an unwillingness to adopt technologies that already exist in the private sector, and I don't really understand why. And that's not really the question for you guys today, but I know that you guys are sort of leading the joint effort, right? The joint. Can you talk me through what might be done then? Let's just say of all the branches, you guys are number one in this, and noting and granting that there's work to do. How can you help influence what, like, just say the Air Force is doing? I mean, this is a big concern. Obviously, Whiteman Air Force Base is in Missouri. Fort Leonard Wood's also in Missouri, but could you just walk me through that, what that leading that effort means, and how we can lead to be more nimble as it relates to counter UAS?
I think, Senator, this is a joint problem. Everybody's going to have to understand how to not only employ drones, but protect yourself from drones and autonomous systems. So, I will again point out that I think we need to be more agile in our funding and buy capabilities. You kind of referred to that we don't get locked into some program because things are moving very rapidly. The discussion we had yesterday with somebody who was supporting Ukraine, was an update, and it's going to continue to happen. I think stateside we have submitted, I think we're going to have to make some changes. One, we're going to have to work locally with the FAA and FCCs locally, but some of this gets to the 130I, and I think that that's legislated as far as what it is, how we can share information on drones. I think that legislation is about 9 or 10 years old, and I think that needs to get updated. And then the big thing that we're looking at is on every system we've mentioned. I think we should be, one, really focused on cost curve. How do we do this in a way that, you're not sending $1 million missiles or using big expensive equipment against things that are relatively cheap, and that's what we're looking at. And we are running a very large exercise this month and next. Right now we're doing this overseas and going through all of that, and I would love to come and brief you on off that, because there's several different systems, both kinetic and non-kinetic,
right,
that we're employing, really around the world, because they work different in different environments, and we're doing the same thing stateside. We've done stuff where we've sent things, for example, down to the border to make sure that we're testing it in every environment. And
it's having a great impact, I think, on what's happening at the border now. In many ways, the autonomous efforts are not only are they gathering important intelligence and directing critical resources to apprehend people trying to come here illegally, there's sort of a scarecrow effect too. Like it's there, people know it's there. The cartels are sophisticated in the places that they want to go. So I think at the border this is actually very important. But I want to drill down just a little bit with the time that I have, and this is going to be a much longer discussion. But as it relates to, there's a big focus on the actual drone and what the drone does. But there's a lot of things that happen before a drone were to be intercepted or shot down. There's detection, right? There's sort of awareness with sensors. And how is the Army what steps are being taken right now to make us more nimble to acquire these sorts of systems? Because I do have great concern that the efforts that are being made we've got a long way to go. So what is happening right now? And maybe that's for you, Mr. Secretary or General.
Senator, what we are trying to do is, and we can talk about this more in the classified setting, but talk specifically to the companies and the tool makers that are being used in war right now and figure out how do we get what they used on Sunday was a pretty ingenious way to get it in some ways. And I think we would not have been ready for that, and we are not ready for it. But we know what they did. We are going to get in the hands of soldiers in the coming weeks, and we will be after that.
And I appreciate that candor, and just make them one final point. I think that, and this is the Air Force in particular, I'm sorry that I'm picking on the Air Force today, but the truth is they've asked private companies to come in and do an assessment, and they have a good way to do it, and they say, oh, thank you for your input. We're going to keep doing it the way we're doing it. That's my concern. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your grace for my extra 40 seconds.
And thank you, and that's our responsibility to change that, Senator. Let me just say this with regard to drones, because this can be said in an open session, and we'll have a closed session. The public will not know it. But our reconciliation bill contains $1 billion of funding for small drones and another $1 billion for one-way attack drones. Some of that will not go to the Army, but much of it will. And I wanted the public and members who will not attend the closed session to know that.